today we're going to talk about intervals, and I want to take a really deep dive. I'm going to do a whole bunch of videos on this because part of the Shawn Lane curriculum is, instead of really being anchored down on note name, which is very important, you need to know the notes, the names of the notes. With intervals, we can build anything off of any root note, any scale, any chord. And Shawn was a huge fan of Ted Greene, both his recordings and his books. And chord chemistry lays out all these different chords and inversions and voicings perfectly, and they're showing intervals quite a bit on there. So when I started this app, Music Scales and Chord Matrix, it used to be Interval Matrix Pro, but I found when I put it on the App Store, I was getting a bunch of runner stuff and egg timers and stuff like that. So it didn't really work too well with music, even though I love the name. So now it's Music Scales and Chord Matrix. But anyway, Shawn would always talk about visualization and mind mapping. So I wanted to lay this out to where each color represented a different interval. And what I like about intervals, right now I'm in A. If I go over here, I can go to G right here. See that? And then E, F, whatever I want to do. So I'm going to go back to A. Now I want to talk about the qualities of each interval. An interval is a distance between any two notes. So it's a numerical value. Instead of thinking of a note name, we're thinking of it in numbers. And I like that because you can move this anywhere on the neck. And what I like about this program is the colors. So red is always your root. So when you see that yellow, that's your minor second. And if you notice down here, I have a guitar synth, and I'm using my Fishman triple play. I'm just using that as a graphic so you can see exactly where I'm at. So then the next one that we're going to do is the yellow one, that's the minor second. That's a dark, it's an immediate tension, like Jaws or something like that. Now the next one is the major second, and that one is green, and it's more of a melodical, it's a passing tone, but like if you're moving around, so that one, the major second is always going to be green. I'm sorry, the light blue is the minor third, and the minor third is kind of the soul of minor or the blues. There's a little bit of darkness there. And then the major third, that is your typical happy sound. The major third is going to be turquoise in color. And we can hit it we can hit those two together. We can go here to here. So, and that's got some decent stability there, but it still wants to resolve, right? So the major third is the turquoise. It's bright. It's got that definitive major sound to it. So the olive green is going to be your perfect fourth. It's a stable sound, but it's suspended. It wants to so then we have the orange, which is your tritone. The tritone is an equal distance from the root note to the octave, and that is known as the devil's tone. It's got a lot of tension. That's kind of the gateway to outside playing. So then that one's going to be orange, and then the blue is always going to be the perfect fifth. This is the ultimate anchor tone. That's a very stable tone. The most important progression is always going to be the 5 to the 1. And then the 1, 4, 5 is the most common progression that we have. And we're going to get into that later on when we get into modes and stuff. But that fifth is the stable. That is your anchor tone right there. And then we're going to have the augmented fifth or the minor sixth, depending on how you want to look at it. Okay, so that one's going to be a purple. And that's kind of a exotic or mysterious sound there. And then we're going to have the major sixth. It's a sweet, jazzy, sophisticated. That's a tan one. And you might like NBC. Maybe like right there, I went to the minor 7, and that is the that's got that dominant bite. Now, if I ever see a chord where it is an A7 or a G7, what that actually means is dominant 7. So when you see the chord in the 7 by itself, that means it has a flat 7. It's a major triad, which is a 1, a 3, and a 5. But then we've got that minor 7 right there. And that's kind of the main blues chord. It's based off that dominant 7. So then we have the major 7, our last one, which is a pink interval, and it's kind of a leading tension. It's like a... And see, I'm just resolving that with my octave right there. Now, while I'm on this subject of these intervals and their tendencies, okay, I want to talk about, a lot of times you're going to see in music, you'll see like a A9 or A major 9, A minor 9, G, whatever. When you see a 9, when we have this octave, we have our root note right here. See, we have the 7 here. If we were to keep counting up, the 1 would be an 8, so because it's octave. So if we went to the minor 2nd, that could also be called the minor 9 if we were to keep counting. And then you'd have the major 9 right there. So a 9 chord, a triad's always going to be a 1, 3, 5. When you are looking at a chord, you're going to have the 7th chord. So say a major 7 would be a 1, a 3, a 5, a major 7. And then if we wanted a major 9, we would add a 9 to that. Or maybe a major flat 9, you would have that flat 9 or that flat 2. Because 2 and 9 are the same thing. Just like 4 and 11 are the same thing. So you might have, if you saw an A11 chord, that's going to be an A dominant 7 because it doesn't say A minor 11. That would be, 1 flat 3, 5 flat 7, and 11. But if you see A11, that's going to be a dominant 7 with an 11 added to it, meaning we're adding a 4 to that, okay? And then you might see a 13 chord, meaning we're going to add a 6. So 9 is 2. I know this sounds kind of weird. 9 is 2, 11 is 4, and 13 is 6. We're just adding that into the scale after the octave, technically. So those are called chord extensions, and that's how you get those. So that's important, talking about how to build chords. And right now we're looking at this big map. So this is kind of big and scary and all, and this is really important to know. But if I want to come down here to chords right now, okay, well, actually, there's a good dominant sharp 9 chord, okay? I want to show you this one really quick. If we go to E, everybody knows this is the Jimi Hendrix chord in Purple Haze. He plays this chord right here. It's a 1, a 3, a 5, a flat 7, and then we're going to do a sharp 9. And with Purple Haze, that's that thing. And see right there, I can also add that's adding that 5 into that chord. So anyway, let's simplify this a little bit. We're going to go to chords here, and let's go to the triad. I'm going to go to G. Let's just go to G. Why not? So the major triad, here's your G chord right here. And I know I've done this in other videos, and a lot of this is just visualizing these shapes. All right, so here's your, and you can see it over here. All right, so then here's the other way of looking at the G chord. There's that E-shaped bar chord right there. Okay, and then also we can take this root, and here's that D shape right there. So we can go right here. And then right here is a C shape. And what I did is I just went like this. And then here's the A shape right here. So we have a G, we have a G, we have a G, we have a G, we have a G. That's called caged. And it moves up the neck like that. And that's why I love intervals, because we can take these shapes and just move them around. And you don't have to do it by shapes. I don't want you to do it by shapes all the time. It's kind of weird when you're learning music. You want to do certain things, but then you don't want to do certain things. really just get your hands on your instrument and play something new every day. And if you know what you're doing and you know what to call it, then you're going to be able to associate certain scales or certain chords or certain intervals with certain sounds. That's the whole point of doing this. So you can see right here, my major third is going to be the turquoise, right? So if I switch from the major to the minor, see how that we now have a minor third, but that fifth stayed the same. So the only difference between a major third and minor third is the light blue, and it's the 1, the flat 3, and the 5, okay? Now, if I want to look at this like an arpeggio, I could go in order from right here to here, and then here, 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 right there. So it's going to be like a... And then I can go to this root note. So I'm going right here, and then right here. So I have the 1, the flat 3, the 5, the 1, the flat 3, 5. And there's no rules to this. And then maybe I want to go 1, and then to this, the flat 3 here. And then the 5, the 1, the flat 3, and the 5. So that's that A minor shape. I love doing stuff like this. 1, flat 3, 5, 1, flat 3, 5, flat 3, maybe to the 5, back to the flat 3, to the 1, the 5, the flat 3, the 1, and maybe I want to come back to this right here, and then maybe I want to come up to this right here, and then boom, right there, and do kind of like, you know, and you'll hear me talk about this quite a bit, but I kind of have a bum pinky now, so that's why I'm not anywhere near as articulate as I used to be. Getting to where I can use it a little bit again now, but I screwed up this tendon doing a lot of the Shawn Lane stretches actually. So anyway, that's why I like this program. It's Music Scales and Chords Matrix, because I can extend it, you know, through the whole neck, and I can see these big patterns. Now, if you want to get in a deep dive with all this stuff, y'all got to sign up for my school. It's SKOOL. It's school.com/Shawn Lane. We're actually teaching the Shawn Lane curriculum, because I was one of Shawn's students for many years, and I was his tech. And then Sid Wolf was another one of his students, and he was one of my professors at the Atlanta Institute of Music. And back then, I was a kid, and Sid was in his 40s already, early 40s, and he was already a professor, so he could really understand the mentality and the mental part of Shawn's teachings. A lot of his other students were young kids, and you know, we definitely got a very good technical basis, and we can play really, really fast, and I understand a lot of his concepts, obviously, but he was around my age that I am now, in my 40s. He had a much more deeper understanding through experience and education, right? So it's two of Shawn's students, and we are going into a lot of details with this, and it's definitely well worth it. For the end of January, which we have 2 days, today is the 30th, so January 2026, it's only $29 per month, and then it's going to go up to $50. And even at that, even at $50 per month, you've got 2 instructors. We've got all these different master classes and videos and stuff like that, and we're going to be going live and stuff quite a few times. And that's the price of one guitar lesson, or less than one guitar lesson, and you've got unlimited access. And if you sign up for it, whatever your price is signing up, you're going to lock in that rate. I promise you it's not going to go back down to $29. So just think of it as $49. You're getting however much access you want. Whereas normal guitar lessons, you're going to pay $200-300 a month for that. And we're eventually going to go up to that. However, you're getting the actual Shawn Lane curriculum. And any of our students that are paid students, they will tell you it's well worth every penny of it. We are unveiling stuff that is just absolutely mind-boggling, because Shawn Lane was an extreme genius, and he looked at everything a lot differently than most other people. So what I want to do now, we're looking at the minor. So let's go to something else here. Let's go to maybe a major 7. Yeah, let's do that. So here I'm bringing back in this turquoise, this major third, but we have the 7 chord, right? So, or the major 7 interval. So 1, 3, 5, and a 7 is a major 7. Now, arpeggio wise, we could look at it like this: 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, and 3, right? So we can go like this. We can go. Okay, so then right here, we can do it again right here. We're going to go, and I really like that. I love to do like, and you would hear Shawn Lane do that a lot. And then when I make this a chord, when we're getting into 7th chord, stuff like that, if I include this, it's going to get really muddy. So a lot of times I'm going to go from the octave, and I'm going to drop it down to right here. So I'm going to go to, see that shape I'm making right there? So we're right there, I'm going to the 1, 5, 1, and the 3. Or I'm sorry, the 7. The 1 would be that's just that, yeah, but here, right there. Okay, so now let's talk about something else here. We talked about chord extensions. I want to go back to just a major triad. So we're going to go right here. I want to show you a couple examples that you may have seen before. Let's look at the D right here. So the D, we have our 1, 5, 1, 3. Everybody knows this open D chord, right? All right. If you see a D slash F sharp, that means you have a D chord with an F sharp and a root. All right, what that is, we put the 3rd in the root. Now, normally we build a chord when we have the 1 in the root, it's just 1, 3, 5, okay? The first inversion is when you have a 3 in the root, so you'd have a 3, 5, 1. Now, I'm going to switch to C now because I want to show you. Here's our C chord. If I saw C with a G in the root, so C slash G, that means a G is in the root. When the 5 is in the root, that's a 2nd inversion. So when we have a 7th chord, when you have a 3rd inversion, would be the 7 in the root. So we have our triad 1, 3, 5, 1st inversion, that is your 3 in the root, so 3, 5, 1. 2nd inversion would be 5, 1, 3. Now, here's where this comes in handy. And I chose the C and the D. So the C slash G would be a 2nd inversion. But I know in like Pink Floyd, you know, they... I'm trying to make that show up on the guitar synth over here. It just has a really cool sound when you're changing your root. And somebody that was really, really good with chord inversions and chord voicings was actually Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead, who died recently. And the Grateful Dead, you know, when I was younger, I didn't really give them much credit music-wise, but they knew what they were doing. That was a really good band. And Bob Weir, a lot of people, they did a documentary about him called The Other One, because they always think of Jerry Garcia. But Bob Weir, man, he had some really cool chord voicings. And, of course, there's a lot of great jazz players that do this, too. So, anyway, I think we've got a pretty good, thorough deep dive in 20 minutes. We have done the colors of the chords, how they sound. We have looked at some different triads, and we have looked at extensions. So the 2 is the 9, the 11 is the 6, and the 13 is the 4. And then we've also looked at chord inversions and how to build different chords and arpeggios. So I want you to sign up for my school. You're going to get a lot out of it. It's school, skool.com/Shawn Lane. And there's 2 teachers on there. And also, you got to get this app, y'all. This is Music Scales and Chord Matrix. It's actually Chords Matrix. You can see it right here. And this is actually animated. It's really cool on the App Store. It's on the App Store, and I would love it if you liked and subscribed. And look, I love every one of y'all for coming out and supporting my videos. And I can only do this with your support and your help. And I'm telling you that our school account is absolutely amazing, and this app is really cool. And you know what? I'm not a coder. I used AI to help me out, but I am a music educator of literally 30 years. So I'm laying this stuff out in a way that I know works. This actually has it has all the top chords and scales books, the intervallic formulas for them. And it is a really, really good app, y'all. So I'm Jimmy Hudson. I approve this message, and thank y'all very much.